So this next one, before I hit play, we have Trevor doing lactic repeat or row kettlebell swing burpee. So this one, inside of this, it's 3 sets of 250-meter row. Then we're on to 15 kettlebell swings at 70 pounds for him, 25 burpees, 15 kettlebell swings, back to 250-meter row. James is just like, it's hurting his soul right now hearing that.
First of all, I want to say I'm so thankful that Trevor wanted to do this.
Yeah.
Right? Because, no matter how you swing it, especially if someone's going to videotape you and you know why you're doing it, like you are dedicating enzymes to science.
And he's a strong dude too.
Right,
so
which makes it worse.
Dangerous.
Makes it worse.
My favorite row kettlebell swing burpee
and he
story.
does have mixed modal background.
Yes, he does. Yep.
That's key.
My favorite row kettlebell swing burpee memory is 2013 in my garage. I was doing this test for OPT with a good friend of mine named Joe Tibaldi. He owns Flex right now. We still do some work with him actually. And Joe's a powerful dude, and we're in the garage and we're just rolling, we're hitting this thing. And Joe literally, not literally because it didn't actually happen, but he almost died in my garage. Joe, I'm sorry, I have to tell this story, and I'm sure you would tell it if you were here, but there were tears in his eyes, and he thought that I was going to have to call 911 because he couldn't. It was after set 2. He couldn't get off the ground after set 2, which, interesting enough, it's always been like that for me too. Every time I've approached this, it's set 1 is like, you feel really good, power's there. Set 2, you're just like, how in the hell am I going to do another set of this? And then set 3, I always held on because I knew in my brain that it was the last set, and I wouldn't, like I have now 24 hours of recovery, not just 12 minutes of recovery.
It's a unique test.
It is.
It is.
This one's good.
When I came up with it, I wanted to make it simple and have 3 components, a loaded piece, a gymnastic piece, and a cyclical piece to make it philosophically sound for the sport. And I wanted it for people not to be able to escape.
Yeah.
So they had to put the pedal down each time, which obviously then tells you about the certain person that set this up for, right? Lactic endurance and how you deal with it has to be a part of why you're doing whatever you're doing. So you also should have mixed modal experience, in putting a whole bunch of modalities together in work. And then it just makes it worse, of course, if you're more powerful for it. But that was generally the audience it was for, to kind of figure out how do people not only develop power and make things and get into that like power endurance scenario, can they do it with mixed modal, and can they repeat it?
Yeah.
So I found the most magical thing around just mixed modalities was the fact that I, in my early years, saw how the best weren't actually the ones that put out the most power. They were the ones that recovered between high levels of power. Yeah. And so then you just put together any form of test and you'll see people who do really well on the power and go there. Yep. But they for some reason recover faster than others to do the same amount of power again. Yeah, this test is, and we're watching Trevor hit the first 250, and this is an example of, it looks like he's going at a 155, and he probably has 128 on there. Yeah, yeah. Well, geez, Louise, that was fast because he just got off. Yep. So the first thing that comes to my head, and that's also a 70-pound kettlebell. Yeah, I know. When I think about this test, it's just tension. There's just constant tension. Yeah, you can't escape. And you think when you go to the 25 burpees, that's going to kind of be your escape. And then you start to realize when you're 15 in, when you're 12 in, that you're not even halfway there, and how much time that took you, and how you don't have the ability to catch your breath. So this one that's great insight, because everyone goes through that, but no one talks about, like, actually, we haven't done a lot of that, believe it or not. We haven't talked through a voiceover of people going through that test. Think of how many times I've discussed this at an athlete camp or just in videos, but to talk about it as people go through, you just added a nice piece to it, is how people think as they're going through this. Yeah. Because if you're powerful enough to get mixed modal experience, there's no escape. Yeah, he's coming up on 10, 12 right now, so
this is usually when I and people that I've talked to that have done this, they start to second guess what this thing's going to feel like.
Yeah, you can see the little wave happening.
Yep, and we'll see it more in the second set because he's still excited. He still has some stores left, and he hasn't finished on that rower. But coming off of that kettlebell swing, getting on the rower and rowing those last 250, reality slaps you in the face because you realize that you have to not only finish that set, but you have to do it again, and you have so much time to think about it during the rest, and you understand that you're not going to truly recover because of the effort that you just hit that thing with.
Yeah. Well, beautiful
His
execution,
transitions are
man.
nice.
That's money. And he's making the swing very hip dominant, which he's smart on too, strategy wise. I like the pace too. He's putting it in there. Yeah. Again, I'll just mention I'm thankful he wanted to go through that. No, because I mean, you could hold off and strategize this. Also, something to think about too. Not the form police is going to be out on it, but it's what Greg Glassman said back in the day, that of course it's taken to the nth degree and people just put it in the wrong arena, but it's very hard to go into those really dark zones and be perfect with form.
Yeah.
So there's that edge, right, that we got to be okay with, that what we're looking for here, it could be slightly sloppy. We just want you to work really hard.
But you can find efficiencies in sloppy as well.
Oh,
like
yeah,
for
sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
what you
But my
just
point
said.
I was trying to make is just like, don't pick on that.
Yeah.
Try to find a way through this and work as hard as you can.
Yep.
And let's not worry about, thoracic flexion,
Yeah,
hip
yeah.
extension, less knee,
Because the work is being done.
Yeah.
In all reality.
Yeah.
Right. And what you mentioned on the kettlebell swing, like,
And
thought that was
last point, most people who complain about that would never be able to put out the power that he can.
Yeah.
That's the other sad portion.
So he went about 340. He went about 347 on that one, which in reality, that's not an outstanding score.
That's not the highest top end scores.
That's not an outstanding score. So you can look at Trevor. He's a strong dude. He attacked it. I think he attacked that well.
Oh yeah, for
right?
sure. For
and
sure.
he was rolling on those burpees. Like, he didn't slow down much. But that just shows you that our reaction to that time and the power that he put out and how well he executed on that, that tells you how fast some people can go. And we've seen 310, 315. Like, we've seen that over
310, 320, 330.
Yeah.
That's something like we talked about for the flywheel bike, 10 times body weight. It's not, those aren't perfect, but those are ones that would be great at, like world record absolutes, that you just try to shoot for and try to see where you're standing, Yeah, and same story. The crew that some of the original crew we did that with were robust humans who had mixed modal experience, and a caveat as well, they had it here.
Yeah.
AJ Moore, Nate Schrader, and Rory Hanlon came to visit, and they went to the nth degree to beat each other on those scores. And AJ did the best overall, which is the smallest person of the three.
Yeah.
But I kid you not, same story. When he finished the first set, he didn't move from the ground until I said, you have to get back on. No. After the second set, he didn't move from his spot next to the rower until I said, get back on and do the third set. And that was 309, 321, 327 or something like that. He put, it's more than impressive just based upon the numbers, is the ability to go to that place and recover from it.
Yeah.
That takes a special something, right?
Yeah.
And everyone who's gone through that recognizes what I just said about that pain and anguish. But let's make it more realistic, is that this is a mixed modal power endurance test. That's it. That's what it is. It's a mixed modal power endurance test. And you could pick apart a lot of things like decrement of power. You can make simple estimations. Like, someone has really good power the first one, and then they have these big drop-offs. That's a fair estimation that aerobic capability may be the issue, right? Because they can put out power, but they can't recover from it. Some people may score absolutely low each time. right? So that's like 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. That just shows a lack possibly of strength or training of lactic endurance that they can put into the effort. They may not have the skill, etc. I'll just stop there because we're watching him on the second set, and you can see he's really hanging on with the burpees now. Muscle endurance is, yeah, he's in mud right now.
Because you got to think, you're outside of the damage that's happening to your soul during this, you're doing 75 burpees.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
For a big
burpees.
person.
That's a lot of burpees at that rate. Gosh, Trevor's probably 220.
Yeah.
Probably 220.
2.
But yeah, about 6'2".
He's moving a lot of weight, a lot of distance. Think about that.
Yeah.
Right? Man, that's nothing to be. So the way I came up with it too is I thought about those things. They're not perfect, but I thought about the consequence of AJ Moore competing against Trevor, right? Or the Chris Spieler versus Jason Kalipa.
Yeah.
I always thought about, and not because they're males in each of them, but you could take females and do different body size. Yeah. I always thought about those things, like what's the little and I wanted the separator to be those who wanted it more than the other.
Yeah.
I didn't want the reps or the movements to be the limitation for people, right? Because there's people that are, let's use, who would we currently use? Scott Panchek or Jacob Hepner?
Yeah.
They'd be smaller in terms of him, right? You'd want to say, well, what's the determining factor in who wins on these repeats, right? And I wanted it always to be like who just wants it more. Yeah. That's why I made them those reps, 15, 25, 15. We changed it over time. The athlete camp used to be 250 row, and then 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and then 250 row. We did that because people couldn't handle the 25 reps of burpees for muscle endurance. Yeah. So we backed off because of that particular thing. Oh, do you remember what his second?
Yeah, I'm going to go back.
Sorry, the time.
Come on, Mandy. Come on, Mandy. Get out of the way here.
Look over his shoulder there.
Oh, this hurts.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to know.
No, they show it. They show it. I think she takes a... Oh. Okay, 405. So he went 347, 405. Yeah. That's an okay drop off.
It is.
But absolutely, he just needs to get that first one substantially lower.
Yeah. But that's a good point you make, is the question has to remain, at what time in the year is it necessary to do it? And is it necessary? Yeah. That's the thing. So you always got to come back to that. Is it for him to be able to do whatever he wants to do? Is that particular training to improve that test score necessary, right? If we were to say he was in the sport of mixed modal, around pre-competition area, I would say you need to have those numbers down. That's it. Yeah. But if he's not competing, he's not in it, he's just trying to look at energy system training for it, that's not bad. I would agree with you. Let's fast forward a little bit and see if he gets close to
differences between, let's say you had a competitor.
Look at him now.
Gosh. Let's say you have a competitor, and that competitor is testing this in, let's say the season is in February. That's when the competitive season begins, and they're testing this in August versus that same competitor testing this in January in that pre-comp phase. What are you looking for in absolutes and in differences between sets?
Yeah, great question. Another softball. You want the decrement between sets to not be as much, but you don't want as much first power on your first set.
Pre-comp.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's see. Oh, that last row. So he's getting on the last row right now. He's thinking, why am I doing this for OPEX? He's at 320. Mandy's in the background, probably not saying anything at this point, because what do you say? You're not going to say go faster.
No. Some people may want to hear that. I'm not
sure
if Trevor does.
I don't think he
I know a lot of people who don't hear anything at this point in time.
Yeah.
Your auditory capabilities are diminishing.
So he's rolling.
All you can do is see. You can see the 250 on the rower. Yeah. That's all you need to be able to see.
That's what you're thinking at this point, too.
She's like, oh. Yeah.
She's like, we're not having babies.
We're not having babies. My reproductive capacity is dropping.
Trevor has to be saying, get that out of my face.
He's working real hard right now, which is great. Again, third time, thank you so much, Trevor. That takes a lot to be able to do those repeats. Just so he knows, though, too, I've put thousands of people through this test in athlete camps and if anyone hears an old big dog who went through this way back in the day in old athlete camps or online, thank you for your service. and the youth that you gave up to participate in those things. Well, it did benefit the sport. We learned a lot from testing people in this. And it did benefit this concept of newest forms of energy system training. Because think about it, in 1985, there's no such thing as this. It doesn't make it right just because there is, but because we've experimented with it, I think we've developed a whole new understanding of power endurance as to how it's done. Yeah, and that's what this test offers. So that's a beautiful finish. He finished in
4:14.
4:14. Oh, last one. Good for him. So that would tell me, if we want to play with it a tiny bit, that would tell me that he still has reserves of using lactate as a fuel source, whether it was training that just went on, proper nutrition dosing beforehand or supplementation, or just particular to the test itself. That is a signal that he has the capability of using lactate.
Yeah.
So,
thank you, Trevor.
yeah, man.
Appreciate it, buddy.